Colonel Dr. Raphael George, why don't you push that point a little further? You know, if you look at the social media, you look at the chatter anywhere today, people are only asking, is this just the beginning of World War III? And, you know, something that will be completely out of hand in case that happens, because you're looking at both sides very, very determined. You're looking at both sides heavily militarized, and the stakes are pretty high. In your assessment, what possibly could the next few days entail, and what should all of us as humanity be concerned about?
Well, no doubt that the Iran ballistic missiles attack of yesterday provides a solid casus belli for Israel. This is something which is an official declaration of war. Therefore, the question of retaliation is not a question of if, but when. And apparently, Israel is about to retaliate within 2 or 3 days, according to my understanding. So this is something that could provide a kind of deterioration or escalation. And we can see a kind of, I would say, back and forwards dual ballistic missiles attack and Israeli air attacks, because the Iranian Air Force is not able to reach the territory of Israel. It is equipped with old aircrafts, mainly US F-4 and additional old aircrafts. So apparently Israel has the capabilities to retaliate, and mainly has a kind of short list of strategic assets which could be, I would say, a target for Israeli Air Force or Israeli missiles. And I refer to 2 categories. One is the energy industry, and the second is the nuclear-related facilities, which are, as a matter of fact, the main goal of Israel in order to avoid the Iranians to reach to a military nuke capability. At the moment, we are talking about a kind of, I would say, more symbolic than a full war between Israel and Iran. However, as I mentioned before, an escalation is an option, and a lot depends on the willingness of Iran to enlarge the scope of the military activity in the Middle East. It's important to recall that Israel is still facing 2 additional fronts. One in Lebanon, which is lately gaining some force because Israel penetrated the Lebanese territory with ground forces. However, the scope of this activity is limited and very precisely targeted. But on the other side, we still have activities in the Gaza Strip, where although Hamas is almost eliminated, we still face some militia activities against our forces. So therefore, the additional mission for Israel are not only Iran, but also Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza. Just to add one point, it's the proxy located in Yemen, the Houthis. This week, Israel launched a very massive air attack against Houthis' assets, mainly in Hodeidah port. And I believe that the damage caused by these attacks is huge, so that the Houthis will have to rethink if they will decide to relaunch rockets towards Israel. So I believe that at this very moment, Israel is gaining a kind of momentum, and the Iranians will be witnessing what it's all about. Besides, I think the Iranians may consider their attack as of yesterday as a failure, since the Israeli multi-layer defense systems was very effective, and over 90, maybe 95% of the incoming missiles were intercepted and destroyed. No matter few of them fall in places, unpopulated places, without causing any casualties. So I believe the Iranians will have to rethink if they will initiate another such large-scale attack.
Okay, I think Dr. George has touched a lot of other interesting points, Dr. Muzaffer, that perhaps you can talk about. No longer the war of the proxies. Why did Iran enter this war at this point? This is already now a 7-front war we are dealing with, clearly not symbolic. This is real war. So the tension is quite real. It is quite palpable. And that is why you've seen, a lot of world capitals right now weighing in on where they should stand. In your assessment, why did Iran do what it did? And what pushed Iran to jump into this war no longer as a proxy?
Yeah, actually, what we are watching now is...
I
Yes.
believe...
that is for Dr. Muzaffer.
Yeah. I believe there is a very dynamic struggle of power in Iran, mainly between the moderates led by the new elected president and the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guards, who are supported basically by the supreme leader.
Okay.
Actually, if it was depending on the new president, this attack wouldn't happen, because the IRGC pressed the supreme leader to retaliate after they lost several officers in Lebanon.
Okay. Dr. George, if you allow me a moment, I want to also get Dr. Muzaffer into this conversation. Dr. Muzaffer, please complete your point.
Yeah,
please.
Thank you.
Yes.
What we are watching now, this is the Iranian retaliation that, especially after the killing of the Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran in July by Israeli intelligence service Mossad. Iran immediately announced that it is the violation of the sovereignty, and it will lose the right of the retaliation under the UN Charter 51, the self-defense take place, but it did not happen. Since what we learned yesterday or the day before yesterday, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian stated that, I think in the CNN interview, he stated that the assurance given by the Americans and the European leaders establish a ceasefire in return to Iran's non-response to the killing of Ismail Haniyeh in its territory. But it did not happen. Therefore, now Iran has no other option, most probably, that they see this is their choice. The Iranian, let's say, political leaders choose to respond. That will a matter of the escalation. But now we will see that how the diplomatic efforts will take place. The most important thing is about that. I agree with the diplomatic efforts that many previously the speakers has already also announced, that there is always a room for diplomacy. And especially in here for the questions of the third war and so on and so forth, which is relating with mostly about the rumors or news circled around to the Ukrainian-Russian war. But now it's turned into a kind of the Middle Eastern, let's say, clashes.
Okay.
But especially Russian and the Chinese response will be the more important, and how it's going to be escalate or not, which is not only about the US responses, but also the Russians and the Chinese, let's say, policies will be also effective. I'm sure that Iran will decide that it is, let's say, strategic balances, then retaliate. But I do not expect the escalation of the war into the third war. But let's say limited regional war will take place, most probably. But what I expect hopefully will not be the escalate more.